Okay, let's have a look at what we're doing today. So we're looking at this. Can you see this okay? Yeah, spitting facts, Riblish. Right. Hopefully you can see this okay. Exclamation worksheet to find it. Right. But this is what we're working through. Monica's happy. She can see it. Awesome. So we've got some questions here. You could have started already, but let's have a read of what's going on. We've got 3 plumbers. We've got Poo Poo Plumbing, we've got No Block, and Plumbing World, and they've all got 3 different linear rates. Let's understand. So the aim of today is to understand some of this language, what these things mean in terms of an equation, and see if we can plot it. Because yesterday we looked at going from an equation to a graph, all good. So if we can get an equation out of these, we should be able to graph it, all good. So let's have a look. I'll zoom in a little bit, make your life easy. So let's look at Poo Poo Plumbing. We're going to do Poo Poo in like a brownie orange because it kind of makes sense. We charge $30 an hour. I'm going to use a highlighter here. $30 an hour, and there is a $10 call out fee. Okay. If you can't hear, it's on your end, dude. My end is perfectly fine. My end is perfectly fine, I'm pretty sure. Please click the unmute button or refresh your page. Right. $30 an hour. Now remember our equation. We've got 2 components, the M and the C. M, remember, is we called it the step, and C was the start. Right, we had the start and the step. This $30 an hour, can you please let me know in chat whether you think it is the step or the start? We charge $30 an hour. Step or the start? I want some answers in the chat. I want to see some steps or some starts in the chat, please. Good, I got 3 steps. I agree with you guys. We got 5 steps. I agree with all of you. Fantastic. Right? This is a rate, right? It is $30 an hour or per hour. So it means that this is the step. Which means by definition, this other part must be the start, right? Or by elimination. Which means we could turn our equation, I'm going to erase this, or we could find our equation to be y equals, remember the step goes in front of the x where the m is, and the c is the gradient, 30x plus 10. And we've got our equation, we can now graph this. I'm not going to just yet, we're going to find all the equations first. Let's go to No Block. Now No Block has a table, and we have learnt how to find the step and the start from the table. I want some answers from the chat again, please. Tell me what is the step and what is the start from this. You should all be able to find the step, but maybe be a little bit careful when finding the start. I'm going to put over here, step equals, start equals. I want to wait to hear from chat. What is the step and what is the start, please? Eamon's not too sure. Step is 20, start is 20. Step is 20, start is 20. Step 20, start is 40. Step 20, start 40. Right, let's have a look. So the step is how much it's changing each time, right? We can see that this goes up by 20, and most of us saw that okay. Plus 20, plus 20, and plus 20. So I think finding our step, we can see is 20, and we agree. Okay? Now our start, remember, is our start is about how much you start at, and we always think about the start as 0. Okay? Oh, Hui's here, good man. We always think of our start as 0. Because otherwise, I could just cover up part of this table. And if you thought, oh yeah, I'm going to start from 3, then my start would be 80. But that's not true, right? And same thing here. I start at 1. You don't start at 1. We always start at 0. So you have to sort of backtrack a little bit to understand this. So if we backtrack, we know that this would result in our cost of 20 because it's always going up by 20, right? Are you with me? So the start is always what we call the zeroth term, right? Zeroth, like a zeroth. Sheepy's with me now. I think Zalia should be with me too. Monica's happy. Yeah, big brain. Big brain. Right? So, our equation for this should be y equals, let's actually give ourselves some room over here. Y equals 20x plus 20. Are we happy with that, team? I think we're mostly pretty happy. Let's look at this last one. Let's look at Plumbing World. I think it's actually a plumbing company. I just googled plumbing. $15 an hour with a call out fee of $50, right? Which is what Jai was doing before. So y equals, this one is going to be our step. This one is our start. A call out fee is how much it costs even if you don't work anything, right? A call out fee is if I call a company and get them to come to my house before they even do any work, before they spend any time doing it, at the 0th hour they charge $50. Right? It's super common, it's super normal. Taxis do it too, right? They have a fixed fee and then a cost per kilometer. I think Ubers might have that too. Uber Eats has that, right? You pay a certain amount and then you pay depending on how far you are away, I think. I don't know, I've never got Uber Eats before. I'm too stingy. So, 15x plus 50. Are we happy with these three graphs? Or these three equations, sorry. Seem to be mostly happy. Now we're going to go up here. I'm going to write them over on the side here. Y equals 30x plus 10. 20x plus 20. And our last one, 15x plus 50. Here are our three equations. Monica's laughing at me for being stingy, are you? And let's draw these three graphs. I'll give you a little bit of time in your books. Oh, thanks, Marine. Appreciate it. We're on 443 followers. Let's get to 450. Yo, 7 more. I'm going to give you a little bit of time. I want you to set up, yes, Rusky, thank you. Set up a graph in your books now with this axes, right? 0, 10, 20, 30 up to 130. Thanks, Monica. Yo, it's popping off. Right, set this up in your books now, please. Make sure it's neat, make sure it's tidy, using the gridded paper. And now let's have a think. Remember, this number, the 10, represents our starting point. So, our starting point, oh, let's make that easier to read, like this. Our starting point is, now let's see if I can draw a straight line, along this axis, right, when x is 0. The starting point where it crosses the y-axis. So you can see for poo-poo plumbing, the first one, it crosses the y-axis at 10. So we're going to start at 10. Right? We could do the same thing for these three now, even if we wanted. Right? The green is going to start at 20, and the blue is going to start at 50. You can see this here nice and clear. Now, this number is our gradient, our rise over run. It's our step. How much we go up every time we go across. So you can see we're going to go, I might just put this here, up 30, across, I know that's really hard to read, but when I print out the notes it'll be all good. So we go up 30 across 1, so every hour, I'm looking down here now, every hour I'm going to go up by 30, 10, 20, 30, and we're going to end up there. Are you guys with me? Chat's gone a bit quiet. Tell me you're happy. 10, 20, 30. I'm going to draw a dot there. I'm going to do 3 more dots, and I'm expecting some okays or confused in chat. 1, 2, 3. 3. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, we're good. Good. Good to hear. Big brain. So, I can now draw a straight line between all of these points, and that would represent poo-poo plumbing. So now, I could, what is this telling us, right? It's telling us that at any point of time, remember this is time on the x-axis here, at any point of time we could predict how much he's going to charge. So for example, at about 2.5 hours, if I could draw straight, it's about $85. But I know that at 2 hours it's 70, at 3 hours it's 100, at 4 hours it's 130. 1 hour, 40 minutes, half an hour, 15. Sorry, 1 hour, $40, 15. Can you see that? Let's do the green graph now. Let's do no block. So we start at 20, which we've done already, and we're going up by 20 each time. 10, 20 across. 10, 20 across, 10, 20, across 10, 20, 10, 20. Happy with that? And now let's draw another straight line between all of these. Ooh. Don't like that straight line. There we go. There. That's a bit better. Last one. Now this one gets a bit tricky. Right, we're going up by 15 each time. I'm going to wait for some answers. Rather than going up by 15, what could we do to make drawing this graph easier? So my question is, what could we do to make drawing this graph, this one over here, easier, especially because the gradient is 15. Notice that these go up in tens, so it means every one we go across we go up by 15. What could we do to make it easier? 2 across up 30. I agree. Make a table and then draw the graph. You definitely could, sheepy. 100%. And remember yesterday we talked about how that is our guaranteed successful way. But we can be a little bit clever now and think about what these guys are saying. We can go up by 30 every 2 we go across, because that is the same as going up by 15 every 1. You with me on that? So let's try that. If I went up and went across 1 up by 15, it's halfway between there and there. But if I go across 2 and up 30, 10, 20, 30, I know it's there. And Sheepy's happy with that. And it's much better to draw dots on a graph at exact values, like exactly the intersection of this grid, right here, rather than trying to draw a dot in the middle somewhere. All of those are hard to get accurate. Okay, so we're going to go across 2, up another 10, 20, 30. And this time we can't go across 2 and up 30. It would be off the page somewhere up there. But we've got 3 dots, we can connect them with a nice straight line. Ah. I'm trying so hard to get this to look good. That'll do. No, it won't. Why is it getting worse? That's as good as we're going to get it, I think. There. Alright. It's fine. Okay, so we've got these 3 graphs on here. We're happy. So now, I want to kind of go over, in a bit of detail, how we can interpret or understand this graph. Okay? Now, let's have a little think. In this section here, we can see that the orange line is the lowest line. What does that mean? Okay, what does that mean? The orange line is the lowest line for the first hour. What does that mean in terms of this context of what's going on? Can someone tell me in the chat, please? Yeah, perfect, guys. It's the cheapest, it costs the less, it's cheaper, right? This means that if you only hire for an hour, it's the cheapest. Exactly. So for this first hour, this line is the lowest, it means it's the cheapest, right? If we have a look at this next section, you can see that the green line starts being cheaper or showing a smaller cost, lower cost, than the orange line. You see that? Right? Let's now make it big. So for any hour rate between, at the moment we've got like 1 hour, between 1 hour and 7 hours, or let's not assume, we don't really know what's going on up there, right? So let's kind of erase this for now. So anywhere between 1 hour and 6 hours at the moment, we can see, because this looks like it crosses over here somewhere, we know that the green is the cheapest. Does this make sense? This is like the key of today, right? The lower line represents the cheapest. Now if I stuck with orange, so in the first hour, orange is cheap, right? So if I've got like a 45-minute job or an hour job, then I would go with orange because they're cheaper, right? But if I'm going for a 2-hour job and I stayed with orange, I'm going to end up paying $10 more at 2 hours, aren't I? And if I went with blue, I'd be paying $20 more than I need to. Whereas as soon as we start getting higher and higher, orange gets out of control. The reason is because their gradient, right, their gradient is by far the biggest, which means the steps are much bigger. So per hour you go up by much more. Right? Now this guy here, the blue guy, he charges heaps at the start, but as the jobs progress, he's going up by less and less and less, which means the orange line overtakes him, and the green line, sorry, will eventually overtake him too. Let's have a look at what this would look like on a graph, and I've got it on a full vision here. So I've got my orange, my green, and my blue. Poo Poo Plumbing, No Block, and what's it? Plumbing World. You happy with that? Do I need to have my questions on the screen at the same time? I can if you want. I'll go here and here like this. Right? So, tell me if you're following, guys, if you're understanding what I'm saying here, please. Let me know, say, sir, I get it, or sir, I don't really get it. Eamon gets it. Good. We're all on the same track then. Okay? So we can see that this intersection occurs here. And because I didn't have enough room on my graph paper, but I also can't draw perfectly accurately, that this crosses over at 6 hours and $140. So 140, if we've gone up 10 more, you'll see it crosses over up there, which you can kind of see the blue line doing that, right? So it means at 6 hours, anything after 6 hours, the blue line will always be cheaper. And if I zoomed out for ages, you can see after 6 hours, the blue line is always going to be cheaper because it's going up by a less amount each time than the other two. Okay? And with this knowledge, let's answer the last couple questions and then we're done. So I'm going to have this graph here on the side ready to go. I like to shade it just to sort of understand that there, because that's the zone that green is best. Okay? I just tried to scroll my iPad simulation up there with my mouse. Doesn't work like that. So let's answer some of these questions here. How long would a job need to be for Poo Poo Plumbing and No Block to be charging the same amount? Right? So Poo Poo Plumbing is the brown. I tried to make it brown-ish. Okay. and no block is green, right? No block like green is like green for go, no blocking. At what length of job do they charge the same? Fatima's already onto it. You can see at 1 hour they are charging the same amount. So we can say here 1 hour. And I can even write here if I wanted to, as seen by the intersection on the graph. Right. This is just for your knowledge. You don't need to write this, but just so that we understand. Okay? I might even go like this. How's that? That's okay. Nice. How about the next one? After how many hours is no block and plumbing world charging the same amount? No block is green, plumbing world is blue. After how many hours? We can see the hours are along here. We're looking for the intersection where they're charging the same amount. It is 6 hours. And we're all saying 6, good. I could even put in brackets here, 140, oopsies, $140. So far so good. I have a plumbing job that needs to be done that I suspect will take 3 hours. Who should I use if I want to save as much money as possible? So I suspect it to take 3 hours. So I look at my 3-hour job, which is green here, and I can, which is up this line here, and I can see that green is the best, right? But I'm not going to answer green because we're smarter than that, and I can see in chat some green answers, but I also see some more correct answers. We would say I would go for, or I should choose no block, as they charge the least. We could even say how much it is, $80 for 3 hours work. Big brain. Last question, and then we're done. Alright. The last question, how much would I be charged for a job that lasts 5 hours and 15 minutes? I'm going to wait for some answers here. How much would I be charged for a job that lasts 5 hours and 15 minutes? If I go for the cheapest job. Or how much could I be charged? I'm seeing some answers in chat. Can I do their prices again? As in scroll up to their prices? They're here. Exclamation worksheet, Monica, and you can see it for yourself. Because I got to write down here. Exclamation worksheet, and you'll access the document yourself. But we should also be able to interpret this from the picture. Right? So, let's have a look at this. Don't apologize, you're all good. So, poo-poo plumbing, we're looking at 5 hours 15. So I'm going to write the equations here. Y equals 30x plus 10. Now I know that we could, there's lots of different ways to do this. I'm going to show you probably the hardest way so that you are most equipped, right? I do want the prices for all of them only because I want to do it like that. And that's obviously not what the question is asking for. So, firstly, let's fully understand 5 hours 15 minutes. If I turned that into a decimal, what would it be? 5.25. Because 15 minutes is 1/4 of an hour. So we're looking at 5.25. This, oopsies, this line here, which we can see there, 125. But I want to show you an interesting way to do this, right? We can do this via inspection, looking at the graph. We can also do this via what we call substitution, where I've substituted my value for the time in for x, because x on the x-axis represents time. So whatever value I substitute into here would represent the time, and whatever number I get out by doing the math would give me the cost associated. So let's have a look. Poo-poo would be 30 times 5.25 plus, or I might even show you 30, 5.25, I'm doing it exactly as I've written it now, plus 10, is $167.50. Oopsies, I want to set up one last grid at the end. $167.50. Are we happy? Now, this is one of the hardest ways to do it, but it's also more valuable to be able to do it this way rather than just look at the image. So please let me know if you don't understand this. We are substituting in the time to find the cost of the three. No block. We know that no block should be the cheapest, right? Because we can see that from the image or from our graph. 5.25 plus 20, 125. $125. Jerry, I think you just typed something in wrong. And let's do plumbing world now. Y equals 15 times by 5.25 plus 50. So 15 times 5.25 plus 50 is 128.75. Double check your plumbing world calculation. I think mine's correct. And we could even track this on the graph and see, look, at 5.25, let's see, 5.25 exactly, it's hard to get my mouse there, $125, which is what we calculated for no block. If I go up, 128.75 for plumbing world, and if I go all the way up, 167.5. Now I tell you why this is more it's one of, I tell you why you've learned this, right? Because it's guaranteed accuracy. So if I asked you how much would, without doing this calculation, how much would Poo Poo Plumbing charge for a job that takes 5.25 hours? You'd look at that and go, oh man, 5.25, it looks like that thing there, right? And you couldn't be sure because it's 167.5, right? You could zoom in and get really close, but it's really hard to find exactly how much that is, right? Let me zoom out again. But if we substitute, we always get it perfectly. Does this make sense? So substitution is another way, or another way to find the values, but it's a guaranteed accurate way, as opposed to like looking at a graph can sometimes be inaccurate. Obviously on the computer it's much easier, but if you hand draw it, like if I hand draw it and look at this diagram, it would be really hard for me to tell you if I said, well, how much for 3.5 hours? So, goodness, I don't know, $110 maybe? You know, it's hard to tell. But I could substitute 3.5 and get it straight away. And that's us done. You could even recommend, or make sure you fully answer the question. We could recommend by highlighting the cheapest one. This is the cheapest. They should go with them, and it'll cost $125. Right. Does that make sense, team? Are you on board? Are you happy? Are you confused? Tell me if you're confused. Tell me if you're happy. Most of us seem pretty happy. Good. Heaps of you guys are people I've taught previously, eh? Jai, Vrashank, Marine, Fatima, Zalia. Good. Right? We're seeming comfortable. Right? This is like already covering kind of like a most of basically all of the achieved skills in this assessment. Right? In 3 days, three lessons even, we've covered basically all of the achieved skills. Now I'd have to relook at everything you need, but essentially, if you're able to form an equation from a table, plot an equation correctly, and interpret a graph, you're good. And that was the main things I wanted to cover in these 3 days. If we're happy, then we're done. Okay? If you want access to this exclamation worksheet, you'll get access to the uncompleted version, so you can do it yourself. All this stuff here, I won't be posting anywhere because it's hard to get. I'll post it on my Google Classroom if you're in my Google Classroom. But if you're not, then I can upload it to this file bin thing, right? This location here, the exclamation worksheet, and it'll be up there. But also, you can just come back to this video and access it by just looking at the video and scroll through different parts of it. Okay? So we've done everything there. Main thing is interpreting graphs and understanding it. Cool beans. Right, I'll hang around for like 1 minute if there's any questions or anything like that, but that was almost exactly 45 minutes. Condensed, quick, understood. We're good to go. Any last questions before we call it a term and you guys enjoy your holidays? Right? If you're one of my students, you want extra work, email me. I'll post something on Google Classroom with Education Pivot saying. But no, I am streaming next week, but not for Year 11. I'll be streaming for Year 13 Calculus, and that's it. Just for Monday and Tuesday, probably. But Year 11 stuff, we're kind of done. I've set you up. You're probably already ahead, in fact. And I might do some more live streams when we start the term again, if we're still in isolation, or while we're in isolation for the first part. But that's the Year 11 stuff. Great stream, we're all happy. Riblish is good. Frashak, unlucky. Afro is happy. Thank you so much, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Hopefully that was helpful. And enjoy your holidays. See you later. Awesome. Let's call it a night or a day. I'm going to go play some video games. You enjoy your holidays. See ya.